The Hartley Show is a comic book review program and does not own any of the copyrighted material featured in this episode. All copyrighted material featured will be used as fair use for the purposes of criticism, comment, news reporting, and/or research. Taki taki.
Today on The Hartley Show, I'm going to talk about collected editions that I'm all hot and bothered about. So we're going to start things off talking about Archer and Armstrong from the new Valiant comics. I am loving the hell out of this book. It's written by Richard Van Lente, who was one of the key architects behind the dearly departed Hercules story. And actually, this guy did some really cool stuff. He's written these great comics called Action Philosophers, cool little history comics. But we're not here to talk about history comics. We're here to talk about Archer and Armstrong right now. Totally fantastic read. You got they're up to volume 3 right now. I've got volume 1 and 2 here. It's a story about this guy by the name of Archer who was trained by these sort of crazy religious zealots, and this dude, Armstrong, who's this immortal being who's tied in deeply entrenched in the world of Valiant. This comic is smart, fun, it's got pretty art, and it's semi-historical even, as they give you backstories with Armstrong and all sorts of stuff. A really, really fun book. The Valiant relaunch has been a lot of fun. The only complaint I really have, and I'll point this out to you right now on camera, is that for whatever reason, the Valiant books have this weird tendency to do this little lift thing. Now, volume 2 here isn't so bad, but I don't know what it is. In fact, it's almost perfect. I don't know what it is about a lot of these early Valiant books, but they have this weird tendency to do that I find really annoying. I've put these underneath tons and tons of books, and it hasn't seemed to make it go away. I'm being nitpicky, I know, but that's what I'm here for, right? Next up, Hawkeye. One of the most fantastic books Marvel is producing right now by writer Matt Fraction and artist David Aya, however the heck you say his name. And right here in the quote on the cover it says Marvel's best comic, and you know, I don't think they're that far off. An absolutely gorgeous and well-written book. This is one of these rare books that I got the first issue and I knew it was just going to read better in a collected edition format, at least for me anyways. So I held out and I got the oversized hardcover. They originally produced it in trade paperback, and this thing is gorgeous. I'll even show you underneath the dust jacket. Even has just a cool little stylized cover like that. And an absolutely fantastic book. I just can't rant enough about this book, or maybe I can. One of the coolest things about it is it's just Hawkeye, sort of an everyday life. You know, you can go through this whole darn thing and you're not going to really find any scenes with him fighting bad guys that aren't anything more than just regular dudes in the street. Now, my complaint about this is sort of a little nitpick, but you know, again, it's what I do. This is this fantastic hardcover, and Marvel, you know, if you buy books that were originally produced as a $3.99 book, the hardcover edition would include a whole bunch of digital stuff. This doesn't have any digital anything. It's got no AR and no free digital copies. But other than that, it's a really completely besides that, and in spite of it almost, this is an absolutely fantastic book. Well worth your dollars. It's beautiful. It's smart. Scarlet Spider. Now, Scarlet Spider, the series just came to a finale, but they produced one of their line of collected editions as a hardcover. I don't know if they've gotten past volume 1. I think they've got everything produced so far in trade. But I bought the first volume in hardcover, which is fantastic. But once again, it's got no anything extra. It's got no digital nothing. And it's a great book. I really loved it. Scarlet Spider follows the exploits of Kane, who was one of the characters from the Clone saga back in the day that everybody hated. Kane was the first clone that sort of worked but didn't quite work, and he was a bad guy, but he's redeemed himself as this sort of pseudo-superhero by the name of Scarlet Spider. And although the series is canceled now, he is going to go on to continue to be a character in the new Warriors book that's coming up soon that I think is also written by Christopher Yost. Christopher Yost, I might add, is the guy who is the main writer behind the fantastic Marvel cartoon Earth's Mightiest Heroes, not to be confused with the absolute drivel garbage that Marvel is producing right now, Avengers Assembled. Next up, an indie book by the name of Lazarus, written by Greg Rucka and drawn by this Lark guy. This is two creators that are absolutely on their A game. It's sort of a not quite a post-apocalyptic world, but it's a world it's had rough times. And the basic concept behind Lazarus is this main character here is what they call a Lazarus, somebody who could be essentially killed and then rises back from the dead, all Lazarus style. Like, absolutely fantastic artwork. I found the storyline very, very compelling. Michael Art's a great artist, and Greg Rucka, he's on his A game here. I was very, very impressed with this, and you know, it's your classic Image book, the first volume. It's only $9.99. Well worth your dollars. Next up, we got this fantastic volume. It's called Chase. It's the entire complete Chase. And this is a book that was produced by, well, it was produced long before J.H. Williams, Jim Williams, really got his fame through Prometheus and Batwoman. Long before he was doing that, he was doing this with a guy by the name of D. Curtis Johnson, Dan Johnson. An absolutely great book that never really got the time of day and got recognized, but it's exactly what you expect from these guys. Fantastic art, absolutely beautiful storylines, and it includes all this great stuff in the back, including the DC 1 million issue and a whole bunch of little one-shots, storylines they had in these annuals, Secret Origins and Files. A great, great read. It's the complete thing. All that for a mere $29.99 US, and look at the thickness of that. Absolutely fantastic. Highly recommended. Next up, we've got the new 52 Villains Omnibus. Now, this was originally produced as 52 individual issues, all featuring a villain from the DC Universe. They all have these cool little lenticular covers that they've reproduced for the entire omnibus. They're all shifting around a little bit. It's part 3D, part lenticular, kind of funky stuff. And so, this is one of the best DC omnibuses they've produced so far, and I'll show you why right now. So I'll demonstrate to you how an omnibus should work by showing you Marvel Omnibus, because Marvel kicks ass at this much more than DC does. So here you go. It's the Fantastic Four Omnibus by John Byrne, a fantastic read. And when I open it up, even when I open it up right to the front, the page pretty much stays flat. And as I continue to open it up, it all stays flat. It's all delightful. Look at that. Fantastic. Even right to the end. Whoop! But you see, it pretty much stays flat like that, even right to the end. You know, I might have to touch it lightly a little bit.
That's what she said.
Now, the DC Omnibuses up until now have had a real problem. This is the best example of what we've got currently going on. It's still not perfect, but I will demonstrate for you now. As I open it up to the front, it doesn't lie. It does not do what that Marvel one did. It wants to resist and fling itself back open. Now, when you start to open it up towards the middle, that starts to change, but still, it's being resistant and kind of a bit of a pain in the butt, like that. See, it just wants to close on its own. Well, that's a pain in the ass when you're dealing with something big like this. Now, one thing I do want to point out, as you can see right here, is the double-page spreads. They managed to actually do such a good job that you can actually see the full page there, which is a good thing. And here's another example of it right there. You get the full page spread, and you do have to open it up a little bit to get in there, but they've done a really good job, considering this is an omnibus, of preserving all the image in the double page spread for something this big. But again, the problem with these things being is that it's flat there, which is great in the middle, but when you get to the end, you get that resistance, and then it'll just close on its own. So this is a great improvement from where they used to be, but it's not quite perfect yet. Marvel's been nailing it for years now, and DC is just finally catching up. So there you have it. Collected editions I'm all hot and bothered about. As always, thanks for watching, and a giant thanks to Taz for letting us film here. See you next time, pointy fingers.